Hi everyone, this is Becca L. Jones, and I'm reading from Dolphin Encounter today. This is the third book in a summer love series, so I hope you like this story. Noah said, "I have a friend who's going to chauffeur us around." Claire asked, "Really? Who is it?" She was impressed he had planned something special. Noah pulled Claire to him and kissed her lips tenderly. Claire felt tingly all over. She was definitely back to her old self. She felt giddy again about her boyfriend. Noah smiled mischievously. "You will see. It's a big surprise." He was walking quickly with a happy stride. They walked past the parking lot and toward the school football field. Suddenly, they stood in front of a bright red Jeep. The man in the driver's seat jumped out and said, "Claire, it's you! I'm so happy to see you again." Claire laughed and said, "Tom, what are you doing here?" Tom exclaimed, "Well, I had so much fun visiting Kauai the first time, I had to come back. Then today, the funniest thing happened. Your boy Noah here was at the beach, and he sat right next to me. I was thinking, who is this guy sitting next to me?" Noah laughed as he stated, "It was hilarious. I saw him walking on the sand. I was like, I know that guy from somewhere. I was watching him put his towel down, and it hit me. He was the guy we picked up when we went hitchhiking that one time. Remember?" Claire was giggling as she thought back to how Noah had initially been wary of this stranger who picked them up on the side of the road. Now Tom and Noah acted as if they were best friends. Noah continued, "Tom showed me some really cool places, and I was excited to want to share them with you, so he volunteered to be our tour guide." Suddenly, Tom belted out a hearty laugh. "Hey, remember how you two were my tour guide the first time I visited the island? Now I'm going to be your tour guide." "Wow, isn't that cool?" Tom laughed so hard he slapped his pant leg and said, "Claire, I hope I can show you some really cool spots that even you don't know about." He gave both Noah and Claire a hug. Then Tom ran back into the Jeep and hopped in the driver's seat, raring to go. Claire loved Tom's exuberance and was happy they were meeting up again. She laughed as she said, "This is awesome, let's go." Noah hopped in the passenger seat and Claire sat in the back. The top of the Jeep was folded back, and as Jeep took off, everything inside bounced around, including Claire and Noah. Claire squealed with excitement as she said, "Tom, I'm having so much fun." Tom said, "Wait till we really get going." Noah scrambled with his seatbelt and looked around the Jeep. He exclaimed, "There's nothing to hold on to." Claire laughed as she felt so carefree. She said, "Noah, enjoy it. We only live once." Noah bit his lower lip, and Tom swerved around the winding road just about as fast as Claire did. She whooped and hollered as they drove up and up and up the mountain. She asked, "Did you guys know this mountain here was formed by an active volcano?" Tom looked in the rearview mirror as he said, "Claire, that is awesome. I had no idea. Is this still an active volcano?" Claire said, "No, it hasn't erupted in over 100 years. Both Noah and Tom said, "Wow." Claire piped up as the wind blew loudly through the Jeep. "I haven't been up this mountain since I was a little girl. I came here with my parents once. There's a landing at the very top to look into the dried-up volcano. It's been so long, I don't even remember what it looks like." The guy smiled in anticipation. Tom said, "Wait till you see what's waiting for you." Suddenly, Claire sat back in her seat. They didn't know this guy Tom very well. They had only met him once before and spent maybe half an hour with him. What if he's crazy? Where was he taking them? She thought about this for a moment as the guys talked among themselves. Claire had heard about a small group of people that lived somewhere on the island who had machetes, and they made sacrifices to the fire god. Maybe Tom was part of that group. She took off her seatbelt and wanted to motion for Noah to do the same so they could jump if they needed to quickly get away. She touched Noah's shoulder, but he was so deep into the conversation with Tom that he didn't recognize her alarm. She grabbed onto Noah's seat and looked over at the grassy area. She sized up how far they would need to jump to land in the grass. Claire looked at the speedometer and saw Tom was driving at 30 miles per hour. They could jump and maybe run if they did it just right. She was about to interrupt their conversation when Tom's rental Jeep screeched to a halt in front of a small brick building. Claire guessed it was a military bunker from the early 1900s. They all stepped out of the Jeep and Claire asked, "Whoa, what is this place?" As she scanned the area, there was broken brick walls that looked like they had been in a war. She didn't remember seeing anything like this when she was a child. Noah came around the Jeep and said, "Claire, isn't this cool? These are old bunkers that were used back in the 1940s. The military stood right where we are standing, and they hid inside here." Noah walked inside one of the bunkers. He peeked his head through a square opening that was about 6 inches high and 6 inches wide. He said, "Look, Claire, this is where the soldiers would use their rifle to shoot at the Japanese planes as they flew overhead toward Oahu." Claire was in awe as she looked at the broken down bunkers. Oh, what these men must have seen and gone through as they fought off the enemy to protect their island. Noah was talking to Tom with exuberance, and Claire was somber as she envisioned how the morning must have played out. She looked at the guys talking and laughing as she thought about the attack on Pearl Harbor. It was 0800 on a Sunday morning, December 7th, 1941, when there was a surprise military strike called Operation AI, or Hawaii Operation, on Oahu, Hawaii, sent by the Japanese. There were 353 Japanese aircraft that came to attack Hawaii. Approximately 2,400 Americans were killed, and another 1,100 were wounded. It was a sad day for Hawaii and America. This attack led to the United States starting World War II the very next day. Noah said, "Claire, come look at this." Claire walked over to see an old rusted green military jeep lying on its side. Claire touched the door of the jeep where something penetrated through the metal. She said, "Wow, what are these holes from?" Tom said, "That there are bullet holes. Looks to me to be a shootout here at one time." They stared and they were quiet in a somber state for a few minutes. Then Tom asked, "Noah, don't you have something to show Claire?" He winked at him. Noah said, "Yes." He was so excited. Claire asked, "What is it?" Noah said, "It's a surprise." Noah grabbed Claire's hand and led her toward a ledge as Tom walked back toward the jeep. Noah pulled her to the ledge and around a large boulder. Suddenly, they were walking on rocky terrain with a trail that was only a few feet wide where one slipped and she could fall to her death. With large, bulky rocks to hang on to, Claire hugged the wall as hard as she could with her body. She didn't want to look down. Noah tightened his grip on her hand as she grappled at the rocks with the other hand so she wouldn't fall. Claire yelled frantically, "Noah, what are we doing? This doesn't look safe, and I don't want to die." Noah chuckled as he said, "And you're the adventurous one. Just a few more seconds, I promise. I've got you." Claire looked at the waves smashing against the rocks far below. Noah had held tightly to Claire's hand as she closed her eyes and screamed. Suddenly, she was safely on the other side of the boulder. She opened her eyes. They were standing in a large, dark cavern. Claire exclaimed, "Wow, this is a lava tube." Noah said, "Yes, it is." He pulled out a flashlight from his pocket and said, "Follow me." Claire loved lava tubes. She thought she knew where every lava tube on the island was, but here she was in a lava tube she had never seen before. She was thrilled. They walked a little ways and Claire saw something glowing in the distance. She stopped and asked Noah, "What is that?" Noah said, "Come on, I'll show you." She was nervous as she followed him through the dark, wet lava tube until they walked into a large cavern that was lit up. She couldn't register where the light was coming from until Noah led her around a corner, and there on the ground were dozens of heart-shaped tea-light candles. They were spread out to make a heart. In the middle of the candles were red rose petals. In the middle of the rose petals was a small blue jewelry box. Claire's heart jumped for joy. She had tears in her eyes as she said, "Noah, what is this?" Noah was nervous, and his hands were sweaty. He wiped his hands on his shorts and reached into the middle of the candles to retrieve the jewelry box. Claire shouted, "Don't burn yourself." Noah laughed as he said, "Yeah, that could ruin the whole moment." Claire looked at Noah's handsome features in the dimly lit cavern. He held the jewelry box in his hand for a moment and took a deep breath, and then he went on one knee. Claire's hands went to her face. She couldn't believe what was happening. She asked nervously, "Noah, what are you doing?" Noah said,